It's difficult to speak out against harmful propaganda if you don't know that it exists. And if it weren't for my videos of me hitting these high notes between in the 6th up to 8th plus octave, I wouldn't know that these exist. There are some comments I've gotten which I would never have thought were things that actually run through people's heads, but apparently are, and on quite a wild scale. The sorts of anti-life propaganda I began talking about at the beginning of my channel are ones you find in mass media. You might find it as a literal message in a specific movie, for instance. But the stealthiest sorts of propaganda that undermine people's lives and health, it seems to me, have quite often to do with singing and the voice. The sort of frequencies that are the hardest to hit and that people seem cut off and have the hardest trouble accessing are the ones that could be used to be producing the same frequency of sounds that you would have in a police whistle or a distress whistle, something that people would use to call for help. And when people have the access to these things cut off, it would seem to me that it must affect them. It gives me a little bit more confidence to know that I could make a noise that could be heard from half a mile away in a wilderness situation, or through walls even in an urban situation if I needed to. And these aren't necessarily the most musical or things that could be arranged into a song, but it helps me to feel like I'm taking back something that I shouldn't have lost in the first place, and that is of aid in my personal safety. There are lots of ways, of course, that singing is healthy, but I haven't heard this one discussed very much. It's something that's at the core of some of the widest distributions of horror fiction and other art forms. There's the short story by Harlan Ellison, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, which won a Hugo Award many years ago. There's the Alien movie, of course, the tagline of which is, "In space no one can hear you scream." The Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the opposite one to the other famous episode, Once More with Feeling, where everyone is forced to sing, is the episode Hush, where no one can sing. So there's this dual terror in North American society, at least, of one, being afraid to sing in front of people, and two, being unable to. This is the thing I think we have to confront, and I think it's necessary, and I can see that by some of my comments, and that people lash out when they see someone trying to make these sorts of sounds. And it wouldn't be an important thing to say unless I had some opposition. But I also feel that's something people have to learn to do, to reclaim their voices, to have confidence, and to be able to speak out when there's something about which an alarm must be raised. This can certainly be seen on the internet by the platform I've gained for some of the things I've wanted to say about important issues in society, but which I wouldn't have been able to say if I hadn't been able to scream, and which also other people are trying to keep the viewers from seeing by showing only the scream and not what I'm trying to talk about once I've gotten their attention.